Welcome to Lexington Prosecutor News Online. Today, our guest is Fayette County Sheriff Kathy Witt, and we're here today to talk to you a little bit about the outstanding job Kathy and her office do in keeping up with registered sex offenders. Kathy, welcome.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate it.
Now, tell us a little bit about how this whole sex offender business became such a big issue, and when did all that happen?
Well, as you and our community may recall, in the early 90s, there was a horrific murder in the state of New Jersey. A young child named Megan Kanka was murdered by a convicted sex offender, a convicted pedophile, in fact. And after her murder, her parents found out that law enforcement had the information, but law prohibited them from sharing it. So they went on a crusade, and legislation was passed throughout the country allowing law enforcement to share information with their community.
Okay. Now, you have taken a lead in this whole process of keeping up with sex offenders in our community. Tell us a little bit about what you did and how you go about doing it now.
Well, our state laws had a couple of different versions of the law. Initially, we were able to go door to door with a 30-day window before the offender was released from the penitentiary and to tell the neighborhoods that the person was coming back to reside among them. Now, we don't know until the offender actually registers with probation and parole, but as soon as we find out, we go out into the neighborhood and we identify where the offender is living, the type of charge the offender was convicted on, and try to answer any questions within the neighborhood. Our unit also, though, keeps up with their compliance.
Now, people that are watching this may not have any clue what compliance means. Why don't you tell our folks what does compliance mean as it relates to sex offenders?
Actually, our unit in ensuring compliance of the offenders goes out periodically every 30 days, every 90 days, more frequently if necessary, to determine whether the offender still resides at the address that he or she is registered with probation and parole. So once we find out that an offender has fled from that address, meaning they've just left that address and not notified us of a new address, we petition the court for a warrant and we enter that person into the NCIC.
Well, how often do you all check on those the addresses that they've given to their probation officers? This is where they say, this is where I'm living. How often do you check on that?
There are two levels of offenders within our statutes right now. Those that are lifetime registrants that have to be checked on more frequently, every 90 days, and those that are 20-year registrants, which the law says you only have to verify their compliance annually. But we think annually is far too long to wait to see if a person lives there. So we, at least 4 times a year, do a community-wide verification, and then our unit is in neighborhoods every day and within zip codes verifying more frequently, 30 to 60 days.
So you all have really taken this to a new level in making sure that these sex offenders are where they are supposed to be and they're not loose in the community at large.
I appreciate that comment because that unit works really hard. They're diligent. They know all the offenders on the registry, and on any typical day there's about 312, 320 offenders in Fayette County. So they know them all by name, by face, and that offender knows that unit as well. So they're committed to ensuring that the offender stays compliant, and when they don't, as you say, follow the rules, that they're held accountable for that.
How can people in our community that may be watching this find out if there are sex offenders living in their neighborhood?
That's a really good question. They can go to our website at FayetteSheriff.com. They can check by zip code. They can check by more closer radius, if you will, by registering to get an email notice if an offender moves within a mile of their home. Then if they sign up to get notified, they'll receive a phone call from the sex offender registry maintained by the state police, and they'll be told that an offender has moved into their zip code, and then they can go to the website to get more information.
Okay, now what's the website again?
It's FayetteSheriff.com, so www.FayetteSheriff.com.
Well, I understand that our friend, the U.S. Marshal, Squirrel Carl, is in the U.S. Marshals Service in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department, and the Lexington Police Department, and the State Police are kind of doing a similar check to see if everybody's where they're supposed to be and that started about a week ago, or close to it. They're basically doing what you do annually. And I'm told that we'll be reporting on their results soon, but fortunately, we already get most of the results already from the regular checking that Sheriff Witt does. Kathy, you do a great job, especially with these sex offenders, and you've been sort of a leader in Kentucky in developing this, making sure they're where they're supposed to be and that sort of thing, and we appreciate it. Now, what happens if these scoundrels aren't where they're supposed to be?
Well, we petition the court for a warrant. We enter them into the NCIC, which is the National Crime Information Computer that law enforcement across the country utilizes to check persons against the warrant file and the other types of hot files that are maintained in NCIC. So if they are picked up on a traffic stop or a routine check anywhere in the United States, that agency will arrest them on our behalf. You help us extradite them back to the Commonwealth to stand trial.
And we prosecute them.
And you sure do. And your office does a great job of that.
Well, here you go. This is a very interesting subject, and one that almost everybody that lives in Lexington is interested in, because we get lots of calls from people wanting to know about sex offenders moving into their neighborhood. So Kathy, thanks for being with us today. And here we are reporting for Lexington Prosecutor News Online.